Y'all, it is your erstwhile conjurer, Dr. Treasure, here relaxed on my couch. I just snacked on a little Rotel dip and chip before I came here to give you my weekly offering. I am coming off of an incredible gathering that meant so much to me. Um, on August 14th in 1791, uh, an auspicious and historic meeting occurred, and it is called Bois Caiman. Excuse me, Bois Caiman. And this was the meeting of Voodooisan, Muslims, and Catholics in Haiti that was the propellant for the Haitian Revolution. So, just a few days ago, I led a commemoration in Forest Park in St. Louis, Missouri, of that incredible gathering. And it was so important to me, and it proved to be moving and life giving for the participants. So, check out just a little bit of my storytelling at the event.
Into their enslavers and felt that they were in a class that put them above the people who worked in the sugarcane fields. Some had accepted their enslavers' spirituality and were waiting on a pope to create a mandate to free them. Some were finding solace in what they had created together and were waiting on the primordial spirits to act on their behalf. But Cecile Fatiman's Societe, her group of Voodooisans, knew that the ancestors worked through our feet and our hands.
It was wonderful to share with people this information. And when I was contacted by the organizer, a poet and abolitionist named T Spirit in St. Louis, it was really kismet because I actually have the date, August 14th, 1791, on my calendar. I do my own personal remembrance of Bois Caiman every year because I am just so moved by the work that the Voodooisan, um, Manbo Cecile Fatima, and Ungan Bookman Dutty did. I am so impressed by the way they were able to get people together across their differences in Haiti and get them to turn toward their common enemy, which was French enslavers and their British and nascent U.S. allies.
To become the only known slave revolt that resulted in a country free of enslavement and ruled by its former captives.
Ashe!
January 1st, 1804.
Ashe! Ashe! Ashe!
So it is in honor of the Mambo Cecile Fatima and the Ungan Bookman Dutty that I bring you today's message. Today's message is also connected to um, the banishing that is over on Patreon. Remember, if you join me on Patreon, you get hoodoo banishings, spell writing earlier than everyone else. You get new moon gatherings, full moon gatherings, live rituals, hoodoo book clubs. And this coming new moon gathering, I think it's on the 24th, it's the next new moon, is going to be a Hoodoo 101. So, an introduction to hoodoo, what it means historically, how did it get here, the who did what, when, and why of hoodoo. So, I encourage you to join me. I will put the link in the description. But what I wanted to talk about today is that the machete was in your hand the whole time. You know, I mentioned that the organizer, the person who invited me to lead this wonderful commemoration, her name is Tracy and her stage name is T Spirit. And that's one of the bars that T Spirit dropped while we were there. The machete was in their hand the whole time. You know, the fascinating, one of the many myriad of fascinating things about the Haitian Revolution is that it was preceded by the French Revolution. So the same people that were enslaving Haitians um, were over in their country saying egalite, fraternite, liberté, equality, brotherhood, and freedom. Those were the same people pulling the monarchs out of their palaces and using the guillotine on them. Off with their heads, the death penalty. You know what I'm saying? To all of the landed class, the landed gentry, the royals, right? They messed them people up so bad and so publicly that over there in England they said, "Oh, let us start doing this parliament thing and slide to the side real quiet like cuz our neighbors over here, they really put an end to the royal family, an end to them." So those same people who were willing to do the ultimate for freedom, equality, and brotherhood were enslaving the Haitians. And don't think the Haitians weren't hearing about this. They were hearing about it from their enslavers on the island and in other ways. So just think about the gall nerve of that. I'm over here sexually trafficked. I'm over here brutalized, demeaned, and degraded while you sipping champagne, celebrating your freedom. Child, it doesn't surprise me that 1789 French Revolution, 1791 Haitian Revolution doesn't surprise me. But the thing that like I said, that the machete was in their hands the whole time. The machete was in their hands the whole time. You know what? It's making me want to get my machete. I'll be right back. Hold the line. I had to return with my machete in honor of the brave revolutionaries. The brave revolutionaries in Haiti. Ay, Bobo. The machete was in their hand the whole time, y'all. The whole time. You know what I'm saying? A century or more. A majority of the people on the island were walking around with this. And it took 4 years of organizing by the incredible Mambo and Ungon and others to make a majority of the Haitians realize that they were carrying around their liberation, that they were already free. And it wasn't just the machetes, even though they put those to good use on those French. There was also people like Brigitte who poisoned the people. because all African spiritualities have an herbal element, have a spiritual element, have a body movement element, have an ancestral veneration element. Um, and Brigitte was able to use her knowledge of plants and stick stones and roots in order to do her part in the Haitian Revolution. So we have to think about what is the machete that we have that we are carrying around our own liberation and acting as if it's something else. Is there a gift that you have that's your machete that you've been carrying around this whole time? Is there a thought? Is there a song? Is there a poem? Is there a design? Is there an idea? Is there a business idea? What is it that you've been carrying around this whole time? And let me tell y'all, this is beautifully sharpened because it has a note. You can't hear it, but when I move it, when I touch it, this machete has a beautiful note that is singing out of it. And if I was transported back to Haiti, I would make it sing on those French. One of the things that preparing for the gathering to commemorate Bois Caiman, it made me do some deep dive on voodoo. And, I discovered many things that I did not know, not just about the gathering, but about voodoo in general. And some of the things I discovered were that the Bois Caiman gathering, where the incredible ritual occurred, that was so enlivening, that it set the tone for the revolution to come, that it was a gathering of voodooisans, those people who practice voodoo, and Muslims and Catholics, because lots of people were Muslim from the continent. Islam had come to the continent in the what, 12th, 13th century. And these were people who maybe had been trafficked from the continent in the 15th, 16th century. So they came, some of them came there Muslim. And of course, a lot were Catholic because a lot of the French were Catholic and they were baptizing, christening, and and encouraging enslaved people to convert to Catholicism. I also discovered, I have heard people from the Dominican Republic, which is the other half of the island country that makes up Haiti and the Dominican Republic. I have heard them describe an ancestral spirituality that they practice as 21 divisions. And through the research on Haiti, I heard voodoo practitioners saying the 21 nations. And what I discovered was around the time that Haitian voodoo began to crystallize and began to kind of formalize itself, um, enslaved people looked around and counted and said to themselves, we are 21 different nations. We are Rada, we are Nago, we are all these different Fan, Akan, we are all these different Ave, all these different nations. And there were actually more than 21, of course, but they said, hey, 21 nations. So over on the other side of the island, the spirituality is called 21 divisions, but in Vodou, they say we are 21 nations. My daughter has just come back from going out and hanging out with her boyfriend. Hey, y'all. So, the machete was in their hand the whole time. Haiti was the third largest producer of sugarcane on the globe. And every day, people like Bookman Dutty would ring the bell for people to go out and cut sugarcane. And it was hot work, brutal work, body decimating work. Um, and, for more than a century, we had all of these Haitians walking around with machetes and not en masse using them against their enslavers. So Cecile Fatiman and Bookman Dutty, they did an incredible job of liberating the minds of their fellow enslaved and African descendant people. So that's one of the things that I see as a connection between voodoo and what we call conjure here in the US or hoodoo. Um, it is uh, familial and passed down through families and communities. I know about hoodoo because I was raised in a community in Meridian, Mississippi, where people practiced conjure and offered their services using this passed down African spirituality. Um, in the voodoo world, you have people who do their family voodoo. And then you have people who go and are invited to be initiated. So it will be the difference between a person who um, uh, uh, plays music for themselves and for their community, and then maybe people from an incredible conservatory come and tap them and say, you're talented. Come over here and get some more knowledge so that you can serve on an even higher level. That is how voodoo works. In American conjure, in general, there is no initiatory practice. However, in some instances, there are initiations. I just wasn't raised in a community where they were offering initiatory practices. So when we think of hoodoo, voodoo, or voodoo as it is called in the US, we are talking about something, as I've said before, that is ancient and powerful and that frees you from trying to be beholden to people and systems that you don't need to fix. It frees you to turn toward each other and come up with new systems, right? And realize that you are your greatest weapon. Not to search outside for a savior, not to overgive in order to prove yourself to a system. It is hoodoo and voodoo allow you to realize your own gifts and not be hyper focused on some great mandate to go out and preach to all the nations. If you notice, there is never a voodooist or a conjure worker trying to proselytize. We don't stand outside of businesses with little tracts or get on street corners and pull out our microphone and preach. This is familial, ancestral, cultural, and for those who are um, of the blood. So I think that I will end there. Um, I usually give you a book recommendation, and I am going to recommend that you read Island Possessed. Island Possessed by the great Catherine Dunham. Catherine Dunham was an incredible dance ethnographer, one of the first people to have her own dance studio in Illinois, first black people, one of the first black people to do graduate work at U Chicago in Chicago, Illinois. And she went to Haiti, was initiated, studied the dance culture there, and used it to develop her own technique called Dunham Technique. It was a young Alvin Ailey who went to see Dunham's dance troupe perform and was struck with the notion that he too could create a dance theater and be a choreographer. So her Catherine Dunham's legacy is deep and important, and her memoirs and tales of her research in Haiti is called Island Possessed. You're going to have to do some work to get that book. I believe it's out of print, but you can find old copies on the interwebs. Now, what will be our uh, 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 journal prompt? I know exactly what it should be. What is your machete that you've been carrying around the whole time? Hmm, I want to know. I cannot wait to hear from y'all. Hit reply and tell me, what is your machete that you've been carrying around the whole time? Ay bobo, as they say in Haiti. And you guys have a fantastic rest of your evening.